What is up, guys? This is All Day Day 1 on the PS4, and I'm going to be giving you a build breakdown for the Incredible Hulk. So, let's get started. So, let's look at his traits real quick. His two main attributes are durability and strength. So, if you increase your durability, you will get 4% increase in your damage reduction, and you increase strength, you get 4% increase in your base damage. And the Hulk gets a 5% brutal strike chance automatically. And the middle box explains what his anger is. Anger is your primary resource. Anger is generated whenever Hulk deals or is dealt damage. And when anger reaches 100%, Hulk is considered very angry. These benefits scale with Hulk's current anger and update when you use the power. Base damage 0.3% to 30%. Critical damage 0.3% to plus 30%. Critical hit rating plus 0.1% to plus 10%. And attack and movement speed plus 0.1% to plus 10%. So the 30, 30, 30, 10, and 10%, all the max percentages happen when you're max anger, very angry. The right box, Hulk Tough. Max, you get a maximum health of 1750. Defense rating multiplier is increased by 20%. Defense rating you automatically get 600 of. Deflect rating you get a 20% multiplier, and then deflect rating you get a 600 automatically. Melee combatant you get a 8% damage reduction. For all of his abilities, I use Cratering Stomp on Triangle, I use Meteor Strike on L2 Circle, Ultimate Destruction on L2X, Tremor Fist on just X itself, Demolishing Charge on Circle, Avalanche Leap on Square, Knuckle Dusters on L2 Square, and Deafening Roar on L2 Triangle. So, Deafening Roar, it says, channel your anger into a ferocious roar, terrifying nearby enemies. Anger generated, you gain 50% of max anger, and the debuff effect towards enemies is they become terrified, they're weakened for 10% of the, they become terrified for 3 seconds, meaning they will stop attacking you, and they're also weakened, so they deal 10% less damage, and the weakened duration is 8 seconds. It's a 12-second cooldown. Knuckle Dusters, tear a nearby car in half and use it as improvised boxing gloves. So it'll just randomly spawn a car in front of you and you'll break it in half and use those as gloves. Requires maximum anger to activate. Damage, it does 14,235 to 21,352. You become invulnerable for 2 seconds, but those 2 seconds only happens when you're in the effect of breaking the car. You gain a buff effect. Damage deals 3,000 to 4,500 extra damage per melee hit. Cooldown 45 seconds. Critical hit chance, you get a plus 10% crit hit chance, and you're immune to all crowd control, and the duration is 8 seconds. Avalanche Leap, leap into the air, creating a localized earthquake when you land. Damage, you deal 8707 to 13,060. Tremors damage, which does AoE, 2328 twice per second, and the duration for tremors is 8 seconds. Enemies become vulnerable, they take 10% more damage. Vulnerability duration 8 seconds, and you get a 2 charge max. And the cooldowns are 4 seconds. And when you're very angry, your AoE effect is increased by 50%. Demolishing Charge, it removes crowd control effects. This is your dashing ability. It removes crowd control effects. Damage when you hit enemies is 2,047 to 3,071. Damage to an area 1771 to 2656 in an area. Cooldown is 4 seconds. Max charge, you get 3 max charges. And when you're very angry, you get 50% AoE. Tremor Fist, when you punch the ground hard enough to tremor a seismic shockwave. The damage you deal is 2940 to 4410. 50% attack and movement speed is reduced to enemies you hit. And they are slowed for 2 seconds. Attack speed, your own attack speed is 2.3 per second, so you hit 2.3, so technically 2 hits per second. When you're very angry, aftershock damage 2591 50 to 5236. AoE damage is increased by 50%, or AoE is increased by 50%, and the range is increased by 50%. Ultimate destruction, your signature, you clap your hands to crush an enemy, creating a shockwave that knocks back foes and reflects projectiles in front of you. So damage deals 43,516 to 65,274. Melee damage is increased by 93,083 to 139,624. The cooldown on it is 30 seconds. Meteor Strike, leap with enough force to create a vacuum at your location, pulling all the enemies in one spot. Grab a meteor from low orbit and bring it crashing into Earth, crushing enemies in a wide area, sending red hot debris in all directions and creating a smoldering, irradiated impact crater. Damage it deals is 79,854 to 119,780. Meteoric debris damage is 15,357 to 23,035. Stun duration is 5 seconds, irresistible, so it stuns anyone and everyone. And instantly refresh all powers currently on cooldown. So anything that's on cooldown will be instantly refreshed when you use Meteor Strike. It's a 1 minute cooldown though for Meteor Strike. Cratering Stomp, melee cooldown, force crowd control, yada yada. Stomp the ground to create a massive crater, causing enemies to tumble towards you. Pull enemies towards you. Damage is 17,476 to 26,213. You weaken your enemies, and the weaken does 10% damage, and they deal 10% less damage. Weaken duration is 8 seconds. You have a 6-second cooldown for this ability, and you get 2 max charges. When you're very angry, base damage for all melee powers is increased by 15%. Buff duration is 8 seconds. And now we will go on to the talents. So I'm just going to read out everything that I'm using and why I'm using them. Hulk Tough. When you activate Deafening Roar, gain 20% of your maximum health. Base health by 20%. Health gained 0.5% of max health per second. So you definitely want to use this for everything. I mean, it's self-explanatory. You're getting healed. It's one of your only healing abilities. You have heal on hit, but Hulk Tough will be giving you a lot more heals than your heal on hit. Roar. Deafening Roar gains the following effects. Total damage increased by 10%. Damage received is 10% as well. I'm pretty sure it doesn't mean you receive 10%. The damage that your enemies receive is increased by 10%. So when you use Deafening Roar when very angry, these effects are doubled for 20 seconds. Hulk Wreck Everything. Whenever you use a cooldown power, reduce the cooldowns of all other cooldown powers by 0.5 seconds. So you reduce all cooldowns by 0.5 seconds. So, for example, if you use your Meteor Strike, that'll reduce all your cooldown abilities, but then you use everything else, then it'll reduce your Meteor Strike cooldown by just little by little. So that helps a lot. Smash Big Rock is actually a good one to have as well, but I mean, I don't think I would use it though, out of these two. Hulk Really Loud. Ultimate Destruction's cooldown is reduced by 1 second for each enemy that it hits, and maximum reduction is only decreased to 20 seconds. Ultimate Destruction charges, you get 2 charges, so you get 2 signatures. So Hulk Really Loud is a really nice one to have. Hulk Wreck Everything is a really nice one to have. So those two, you can choose between those two if you'd like. Out of my way, you'd need to have this. Don't even worry about these other two. Out of my way is what you want to use, because when you use Avalanche Leap or Cratering Stomp, Demolishing Charge gains a charge. When you use Demolishing Charge, reduce the cooldowns of Avalanche Leap and Cratering Stomp by 2 seconds. Cratering Stomp max charges is increased by 2 charges. Hulk Punch with Car no longer requires Knuckle Dusters no longer requires maximum anger and gains the following benefits. The cooldown for Knuckle Dusters is decreased by 10 seconds. Base attack speed and deflect chance are increased by 10%. Hulk Smash is another great one to have, but for this instance, for like something like Cosmic Trials, you're not going to want to use this because you're going to be in one spot charging your ability, and you don't want to be doing that, at least with Hulk. But if you're doing like patrols or operations, whatnot, then this would be a really nice. This would be a really nice one to have, because it says Hulk Smash now instantly causes you to get very angry and is always treated as if used while Hulk Smash now instantly causes you to get very angry and is always treated as if used while already very angry. And Hulk Smash always deals a brutal strike. Hulk Smash cooldown has a 4-second cooldown. So that's the talents. Onto my synergies. What is good and what is not good. Angela's is good to have. Ant-Man, the strength is good to have. Beast's melee damage is good to have. Black Panther's is good to have for both synergies. Black Widow, her melee is good to have. You don't need the range. Blade is good to have. Captain America's deflect is, you can have it or not, it doesn't matter. Captain Marvel, you don't need these because you don't have hand to hand. I don't know why you don't have hand to hand, but you don't need it. Colossus, do you even have hand to hand? I don't think you do. Yeah, no, you don't. It's just all melee. Colossus is good to have for the health and defense. Cyclops, you don't need. Daredevil is good to have for the damage to normal and elites, and the melee damage. Deadpool, you don't need. The health regen is nice. Doctor Strange, you don't need the magic damage. Gambit, you don't need. Ghost Riders, you do not need. Hawkeye, would be nice to have. Movement speed and critical damage. Hulks, you need for the health. Iceman, you don't need. Iron Fist, you don't, except the health regen is nice. Iron Man, you don't need. Jean Grey's, you don't need. Kitty Pryde is a nice one to have if you have an extra slot open. Luke Cage is nice as well. Magic, you don't necessarily need the second synergy, but you do. The first one is nice to have. Moon Knight, you don't. I mean, it's a high risk, high reward. Depends on how you. You're gonna have to have below 50% health for this synergy to actually work though. Nova is a decent one to have. Good passives. Psylocke, the melee power damage is the most out of everyone else's, so that's a good one to have. Punisher, you don't need. Rockets, you don't need. Scarlet Witch, you should use. She-Hulk's is a good one to have. Spider-Man, you can use. Squirrel Girl is a good one. Star-Lord, you don't necessarily need that. Storm, you don't need. Thor's first synergy is good. You don't need the second one. War Machine's fighting attribute is a good one. You don't necessarily need the anger. You don't need Wolverine's claws. For Hulk, since his main attributes are durability and strength, I put 2 points into strength and 2 points into strike through. But if you are under 25 points, I would just put points into micro warps, increase your defense rating. Yeah. So for my gear, I am not using. You don't need to worry about the cosmic gear. I'm not using the right legendary item. I'm using Helm of All Father. Unfortunately, I don't know why I picked it up. The one you want to get is the Ultimate Nullifier. That one gives you a total of 6,000 brutal damage and 6,000 brutal damage and 25% leaping cooldown reduction. Anything that does leaping damage, which is basically like 3 of your abilities. Doc Ox Medallion is a good one to have because your melee damage, whenever you do melee damage, it increases 95 damage. I think that's just, I don't think it matters on what tier medallion it is or rarity. So you get 95 damage to melee powers and it stacks up to 8 times. So that's a really nice one to have. Your catalyst, the green, for the green part of your catalyst, this is okay, but what you want to have is the 25%. Whenever you use a medkit, you get 25% health and anger back. For the cosmic trait, you want to get the shield one. So whenever you use a medkit, you get 50% of your max health as a shield. And radioactive bonus, this one is a good one. When you use your medkit, heal for an additional 5,000 health. For your relic, you want to have Relic of Asgard, either that one or this Relic of Subterranea. Those are the only two that I would say are the most useful for Hulk. But for defensive purposes, Subterranea is the best one. For offensive purposes, Asgard would be the best option. For my artifacts, I have Advanced Circlet of Sidorak. I'm pretty sure I got this from patrols. Well, I've been doing cosmic patrols and whatnot, but you can have the regular Circlet of Sidorak. It'll give you less damage absorption, but it's still good enough. This one gives you durability, damage rating to movement powers, 6% when you are attacked to create a shield that absorbs 15,000 damage done to you, 30-second cooldown. Gain 14 anger and 77 health when you pick up any orb. 371 brutal strike rating. For your artifacts, Ziggurat of Kargul is a really good one to have. 552 critical damage rating. When you use a movement power, increases your movement speed by 20% for 5 seconds. 384 critical hit rating. 362 brutal strike rating. Rhino's Indestructible Horn, you can get this from Rhino in the Villain Showdown or during your patrols when he pops up as an event. While you are moving, gain 3 strength for 3 seconds, or 1 to 3 strength for 3 seconds. While you are standing still, gain 1 to 3 durability for 3 seconds, 180 anger, 150 brutal strike rating. And for my stats, I have 10 durability and 9 strength, so it would be nice if I had higher in both of those, but it's pretty fine where they're at. My defensive stats, I have 56,315 of average effective health and 45% damage reduction. And you get your damage reduction from your durability. For my offensive stats, I'm at 13.3% attack speed. You don't have to worry about your attack speed being high or low, whatever, because your anger will already give you increased attack speed. I have 2490 crit hit rating, 4451 critical damage rating, 1884 brutal strike rating, and 4605 brutal damage rating. So if you're in full purple gear, you should be around 1600 to 1800 critical hit rating. That's if all of your gear has critical hit, like you're going with critical hit, critical damage, brutal hit, and brutal strike and brutal damage. So you should be around 16 to 1800 critical hit rating, about 3000 or higher critical damage, 16 to 1800 brutal strike rating, and 3000 or higher in brutal damage rating. So I will show you, do a little ability showcase of each thing. So Deafening Roar, I would use Deafening Roar and Knuckle Dusters at the same time because that's more damage buff. Then your signature, Meteor Strike, Deafening Roar, and Knuckle Dusters, and then just leap around.
Not a chance.
Right. And then use your Tremor Fist, whatever it's called, every now and then. And when you have your cooldown for the L2 abilities, use those as well. And yeah. So with your abilities, you're gonna be spamming square, triangle, and circle a lot. Also, those would be helping you survive because you're gonna be dodging a bunch of missiles and enemies and whatnot. Deafening Roar, and Knuckle Dusters will give you a nice damage buff. The signature, the clap ability will do a big damage. Meteor Strike will do another big amount of chunk of damage AoE, but it also automatically refresh Knuckle Dusters and Deafening Roar. And then after you use those, after you use Deafening Roar and Knuckle Dusters again, then you're gonna spam your square, triangle, and circle as much as you can, or as much as you'd like. So that was the Hulk build. If you liked the video, if it helped out in any way, go ahead and let me know. Leave a like, comment, or message me, PSN, whatever. It doesn't matter. If you'd like to see more builds or guides, whatever, just let me know, and I can try my hardest to making builds that are useful and cosmic. So yeah, it's all day, any day one, and have a good night, good day, peace.